Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to our July edition of the DPM Webinar Series. We are at 2 o'clock Eastern right now, so I'd like to get started. My name is Mike Mason. I'm the Manager of Leadership Development, and I will be introducing today's webinar as well as our two guest facilitators today. Before I do that, just a small note, you may notice that our title for today's webinar is Professional Development Overview, which is a little bit different than we had originally billed it. It was originally called Career Goals and Development. And you'll also notice if you join next month for the August webinar, that was originally slated to be the mentorship program. And now that will be professional development training. We're still covering all of the topics, career goals, development, and the mentorship program. But after looking at all of our subtopics, we decided to change our distribution and alignment of subtopics slightly for this month and next. So you'll see it will be a little bit different than the originally planned titles. So a couple of notes just about the WebEx. It is being recorded. This will be posted to the Exchange upon completion for anyone who was unable to attend today. I do ask you to mute your line. We have muted all lines. But at the end of the WebEx, if we have time, we'll open up the lines for anyone who has questions. And during that time, if you don't have a question, we'd like you to mute your line so we don't have a lot of background noise. Likewise, please turn off your webcam or video. We will hopefully have time at the end for questions. And what we'd like to do, because there's a lot of people on the call, if you do have questions anytime throughout the WebEx, please type them into the chat window. At the end of the WebEx, we'll go through that chat window and try to address all of the questions. And if we get through that, we will also, like I said, open up the audio lines for any phone questions. If by chance we don't get to all of the questions, then we will try to use the questions that are in the chat window, answer them via email, or post the answers along with this recorded webinar. So with that, let me introduce our two co-facilitators for today's webinar. First is James Tittle, who is the Disaster Workforce Readiness Force Manager, who works on the Workforce Readiness team here in Disaster Cycle Services with myself. And our other co-facilitator is Danny Hollingsworth, Senior E-Learning Programs Consultant from the Talent Management Department in Human Resources. So with that, I'm going to pass it to James.
Great, thanks, Mike, and welcome everybody to this call. I hope you find this helpful and instructive, and of course, we look forward to your questions, as Mike mentioned at the end of the call. So let's talk about objectives, or the agenda for today. We're going to quickly go through the objectives. We're going to talk about setting disaster program goals, performance management goal setting. We're going to talk about the mentorship program, certification system, people management competencies and development, the professional development portal, and again, we look forward to answering questions at the end of the call. Next slide. So let's talk specifically about objectives. And as a side note, I come to this conversation, by the way, as a former RDO. So I have some experience, as does Mike, and also a previous RDO, in understanding the importance of not only our own personal development, but also the importance of developing the staff that we work with. So that's the context with which we come to this conversation. So the objectives for today are to increase your basic knowledge and understanding of professional development tools to support the following things. One, setting disaster program goals. creating your performance management goals, leveraging competencies to develop skills, participating in the mentorship program, and completing disaster management certification. And then finally, and very importantly, and I'm very excited for you to hear this presentation from Danny, to confidently access and utilize the professional development portal. Next slide. So let's talk specifically about setting disaster program goals, because clearly it's the sort of thing that makes us and helps us be successful in the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. So we've identified, over the course of time, we've identified that there are 5 significant drivers of regional disaster response capacity. So when you think capacity and response, it's really not just response, but really our full cycle of activities. The first of those is to recruit and develop program leadership and a sufficient cadre of workers, that meaning volunteers, obviously, consisting of a disaster cycle services workforce. Second, providing experiential opportunities for that disaster cycle services workforce, so not only operational experiences, but also great experiences during steady state. Provide a vision and a compelling story for engaging your workforce and for setting goals, and that really gets down to the why of what we do, right? So it's often very easy in the middle of very busy times or busy responses or home fire campaign goals to get too engaged in the actual process, and sometimes forget about the why we do this, the importance of taking care of our community, of making our community safer. So the why is really an important thing for you as a leader to be able to share with your team. Developing and maintaining relationships with government and community partners, again, the importance of networking and building those networks. And we'll talk a little bit about how you can improve on those skills later, but that's a really, really important skill to have. And then finally, working effectively through others. So that means being able to delegate, to manage, to lead, to support your workforce. I mean, all of those things. So skilled program managers who are able to achieve those 5 factors are much more likely to realize program success. And so let's talk about how do we accomplish this. And we do it fundamentally through planning. Next slide. So disaster program goal development is specifically covered in the DPMF course. That's Disaster Program Management Fundamentals. If you haven't taken it, obviously, the hope is and the intent is for you to be taking it here in the near future. Program planning is very essential to your success as a program manager. And really the vision you develop for your program drives your plan and consists of a couple of things. One is goals and one is action steps. So your program or your business plan really is your work plan. So this is what I need to get done and how I'm going to do it. And it describes your goals, the steps you need to take to achieve the goals, and the resources you need to do that. Your work plan is your roadmap for what you want to accomplish to ensure that you're able to deliver the services to your community, both now and in the future. And it's also the means by which your local unit will build capacity. So the more you're able to plan ahead, the more you're able to really discern what it is that we need to be able to accomplish those goals. And that supports things like the volunteer needs assessment, for example. We know that not everything can be planned, and we operate in a very unpredictable environment, but obviously you're going to be more successful if you're able to build a work plan to accomplish your tasks, and be successful. So as an example, if you know that you're going to be responsible for installing 1,000 smoke alarms as a part of a home fire campaign effort, you're much more likely to be successful if you can plan forward about how you're going to accomplish that goal. So trying to plan that for next week is very difficult, and some of you may have had that experience. But being able to plan 6 months ahead of time is really going to allow for a great deal more success. And you're seeing that, for example, hopefully with those that are participating in the Sound the Alarm event, for which we had about a year's notice. Hopefully in your regions and chapters, you're seeing a lot of planning that was able to be accomplished because we had a lot of lead time to be able to do that. So there are tools that you can use to support this planning. One thing I've seen some regions do, some of you may do this already, is to use something called an event action plan, which looks something like an incident action plan, but it's really a mechanism by which your chapter or region can use an IEP-like structure to figure out what your goal is, what the tasks are, who's going to be assigned, who's accountable, and all those kinds of things. And that's actually a very useful tool. It's one of many tools you can use, but that's actually a pretty useful tool for defining work plans moving forward. So the DPMF course itself provides an excellent overview of this process, including several exercises. So again, hopefully you're going to be taking the DPMF here fairly soon. I want to talk next about your professional goals, and how do you accomplish those through the performance management process. Thanks, Mike. So there's really two sets of goals that we talk about, and I would direct you to the performance management toolkit, which is on the Exchange. And there's an update to the system itself in FY18. So there's really two sets of goals that we deal with. One is the individual performance goals, and so those are job-oriented goals that are designed to help meet the organization's strategic objectives. There are typically 3 to 5 of those that you're allocated. Generally speaking, those are driven by standardized measures and metrics across the prepare, respond, recover spectrum. So, for example, how many homes we made safer, how many responses we go out on, the quality of our recovery casework. All of those things have metrics attached to them, and those are some very specific goals that you would have. And of course, that depends on your position. If you're doing functional work, it may be a little bit different. Generally speaking, those goals are cascaded down from the RDO, so the RDO will receive a set of those goals, and those get cascaded down through the rest of the region. In addition to those individual goals, you also have development goals. And so development goals are learning-oriented goals that will assist in your career advancement or help you meet some kind of personal or professional development aspirations. So this is where you have the option of looking at your position description, doing some really searching self-evaluation, and working with a supervisor, and preferably a mentor, which we'll talk about later, to identify your opportunities for growth, your career goals, and even your personal goals around self-improvement. And development goals have a couple of objectives. One is to support and encourage your career development within the American Red Cross, because clearly we want to keep you as outstanding employees and develop you and make you better and stronger in the work that you do, and help you find opportunities to move up in the organization. And then secondly is to enable you as an employee to build an action plan that supports your career growth and organizational needs. So obviously there's some benefits to the Red Cross as well if we can build your skill sets. Next slide. So we're going to talk about how do we set these goals. So the first thing for you to do is to review your job description. Identify the expectations of your job description. I don't know that we look at our job descriptions often enough. If you don't have a copy of your job description, I'd ask that you go and talk to your supervisor, your RDO. They should have or can get that for you to make sure that you're really clear on that. What is your position description? What are the expectations? And then think about the roles above you or the roles you aspire for. What do you need in order to achieve the next level in your career? Also talk to the peers that you work with and your internal customers. So those might be a fellow DPM or DPS. They might be somebody working in SAF or Biomed, PHSS, other lines of service. It could actually be external partners as well. So maybe an emergency manager or a fire chief. But talk to these other peers and other customers that you work with, and ask them about where they see your strengths and your opportunities for improvement, and how you can grow and be stronger. One other opportunity that I'd mention is if you've ever worked on a project team, and some of you probably have, and part of your role at the Red Cross already, whether it's on a division team or region team or even a national team, talk to other members of that team to find out what strengths you brought to the table and what skills you might want to work on in terms of the way you present or how you network or exchange information. All of those things will be really constructive to helping you to set goals. Next slide. So the other thing I'd really strongly recommend is to take an inventory of your skills. What are your strengths? What are the skills you need to develop? And I'm going to really point you to two personal inventories that I've done. I found both of these to be very helpful, and I think you'll see. You may or may not have heard of the emotional intelligence one. That's actually one that's very popular in the organization, and it's pretty instructive, and it provides some pretty great feedback for you on a personal level to have a sense of where you are and what your strengths, what are your strengths and what are the areas or opportunities that you have to be better. So the emotional intelligence and the book itself is called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. There are some different versions out there, but I would recommend that one. That's the one I did. It measures how you manage behavior, navigate social complexities, and make personal decisions that achieve positive results. Really think about people skills. And so depending on your score on the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 inventory, there's some action plans for every element of that. So if perhaps connecting with people is one of those things that you need to do better, it will provide some action plans for things that you can do to try and practice that and get better. And what we know for sure is that practicing those positive behaviors will certainly make you better. So I certainly recommend Emotional Intelligence 2.0. The second one I'd recommend is StrengthsFinder, and that is that identifies what your strengths are and how you can apply them. It's a particularly useful tool in a team setting, because what it does is it allows you to look at a group of people and see what their strengths are, and knowing that and understanding that really helps you begin to understand how you all bring something to the table. Not everybody brings the same set of skills to the table, and that's not a bad thing. It's helpful to take this inventory and share that inventory with others and have a better sense of how do you fit in with everybody else. And so if you haven't seen that one or taken that one, again, that's a great one for a team. I would encourage you to go and talk to your RDO and see if maybe that's something that the RDO might consider as something for your DPM DPS team to take as a group, and to see your volunteer leadership, to see how that how you all work together and who's got what strength and who brings what to the table. It's really helpful. So beyond that, what are the interests and values that are driving your department's goals? So what are your personal and professional goals? Again, these are the things that are driving you to set your own development goals. What are your own career goals? What are the things you want to do? Think about 3 to 5 things that you want to do over the course of time. So if you're just starting out in the work environment and looking forward to maybe another 30, 40 years of a work life, think about where it's not too early to think about where you are now and where you want to get to. So where do I want to be in 5, 10, or 20 years? It's perfectly appropriate to be planning for that, understanding that circumstances change, but this is the time to start thinking about that. Think about what your options are. The Red Cross itself is a really big organization with a diversity of missions. We tend to think about disaster cycle services only. Turns out that disaster cycle services is one of the smaller groups of paid staff within the organization. We actually have around probably just shy of 1,000, Mike can correct me, but I think about 1,000 or a little bit less paid staff that work in disaster cycle services. And some of our other areas like biomed are much, much larger. So there are opportunities within the organization to do other things. So I'd encourage you to think about those opportunities as well and have those direct you in your development goals. So you want to think about what goals you can set now to accomplish those long-term goals, and those things generally require a set of steps to accomplish it. So how do you figure out those steps? What do you do? You want to talk to your immediate supervisor. You might talk to your RDO or your RE. It might be you might want to get connected with your division disaster executive. If you're not sure, it might be somebody at NHQ, for example, that has a particular skill set. So maybe somebody that you've heard speak, or somebody that you're aware of. So, for example, if your life's goal is to be the senior director for information and planning, who right now is Keith Stefanelli, what better person to talk to than Keith Stefanelli about how Keith got to that role and position? What did he have to do to get there? What courses did he take? What skills did he have to learn? So work with your supervisor or RDO to make those connections if you don't have them already, and ask those questions. That networking piece is really, really important to your personal development. In terms of what you need to do to accomplish those goals, obviously make a plan is kind of the big thing that you have to do. And next slide, please. Let's talk about the goals themselves. So this is, I think everybody is familiar with SMART goals, but it bears repeating, I think. So whether you're building the goals for yourself or you're building goals for other people, having SMART goals is really, really important. So just quickly, obviously, a review of those things, but goals that are specific. So goals that focus on a particular aspect of your unit's objectives, or for you personally, something very specific for you that you want to work on. Something that's measurable. So you want to be able to determine whether or not you've been successful in accomplishing a goal or not. So it's not always an A or B thing. There may be sort of a range of success. You may want to establish milestones or whatever else is a part of those measurements to determine progress, because sometimes, especially if you have longer-term development goals, you're not going to see those goals happen. You're not going to see those accomplishments right away. But if you have a set of steps that get you towards those goals, then that's where you'll start to see success. You want to do something that's achievable. So whether it's program planning within your department or it's personal goal setting, make it something that's achievable. So you have very busy work lives. There's no doubt about that. You've got busy personal lives. Life itself is busy. So you've got to make whatever you want to do achievable. And what I'd encourage you to do, whether it's thinking about program planning for your department, your chapter, your territory, or your personal goals, is to really think about what it is that you can do that is achievable. The more times you are able to accomplish that and be successful, you will be empowered, you will feel more successful, and that will lead to more success, I promise. Relevant, whatever the goal is, the goals that you set ought to be relevant. Particularly with program goals, what I caution you about is it's very easy to be distracted by the bright shiny objects that are out there. But we do a lot of work. We have a lot of things that we have to do in the work that we do day to day, whether it's responding, preparing, taking care of communities, networking, going to meetings, those kinds of things. So as you plan, just really truly beware of those bright shiny objects that can distract you, the new technology or the new thing that sounds really cool. Don't let that distract you from the actual work that has to be done. And so as you build your goals, think about that. And finally, make the goals that you have, again, whether they are programmatic or they're personal goals, have a time attached to them, which really increases your level of accountability. And it makes it much more likely that you're going to be successful if you know that you have to be accountable to that time. Next slide. So let's talk about, we're going to talk briefly about mentoring. And DCS, or Disaster Cycle Services, has a leadership mentoring program, and hopefully some of you have heard about that, and hopefully some of you are engaged in that. And the goal of that is to build leadership capacity by identifying, engaging, and developing competent leaders. So there is a fantastic resource on the exchange that Mike has put up there that provides some great guidance for how employees and volunteers can become successful mentors and proteges. Really encourages mentoring within divisions by providing some processes and procedures to support and connect leaders with experienced mentors, and it supports building leadership capacity. So that really is the primary goal, is to build our leadership capacity. It's a division by division thing, I will say. So what I'd strongly encourage you to do is to make sure that you're talking with your division team around the mentoring opportunities are available and out there. Let's talk more about the objectives of the mentoring program. Mike, next slide. So fundamentally, the objectives of the mentoring program are the following. One is to encourage professional development and growth by those participating by providing the structure and opportunity to develop professional skills. It provides you as a protege, if you're being mentored, with the opportunity to foster a positive personal and professional relationship and to support collaboration and networking. I'm going to really harp on the networking piece. So the networking part of what we do professionally is critically important. It's probably one of the most important things you can do to develop your career. You ought to be building a contact list of people in the organization and outside the organization that can support your success in the work that you do. It's really, really critically important. Make sure you always have your business cards with you. Keep networking really, really important. So the mentoring program also provides mentors with the support and encouragement to participate in the growth of others. So mentoring itself is being a mentor, and I will say I am both a mentor and a protege, but being a mentor is in itself a rewarding experience and being able to share experiences and other things with those that you're mentoring. So it also, what mentoring also does is it really highlights the Red Cross as an organization where the people can bring their leadership talents to the table and be welcomed into an environment where we encourage that sort of participatory exchange of information. I'd really, when you go and talk to your division team about mentoring, I'm a strong believer that you ought to be looking at mentors from outside your region and really even from outside your division, maybe even from outside your line of service, quite honestly. And as you think about mentoring, think about what is it, and that goes back to the personal inventories, what is it you want to accomplish? What is it you want to get better at? Where do you want to see yourself in 2, 5, or 10 years? And that really will help define, as you're working with someone from the division, that will help define who that mentor might be. Now, I will say that as you talk to your division teams, if for some reason they indicate that they don't have an active mentoring program, then be the sticky wheel and say, hey, I think it'd be really helpful. I would really benefit from that. And let your division team know that you think that mentoring is really an important thing. As I mentioned, I am being mentored by somebody, and I will tell you, and I did that as an RDO, and still continue to maintain that mentor. And some of really the best feedback I've had about my leadership skills and my management skills has come from that person, and I really taken a lot of value out of that. And I will say that when we think about mentoring, we sometimes think that it's about it might just be about professional skills like how to lead an operation or some of those sort of operational skills. And really, it's much more than that. It's about how to be a better networker, how to be a better leader, how to relate how to relate better with people, how to connect with people. Just all of those skill sets that sometimes aren't so easy to train. And having a mentor can really help with that. Next slide. So, again, your next steps, the tools and resources are listed on the exchange. The program is administered at the division level, so and every division has the flexibility to construct their program as needed. So they may have a slightly different way of doing it, but again, I'd really strongly encourage you to contact your division leadership, and if they don't have a mentorship program, say, hey, this is something we really want to have and we really, really need because we heard it on a webinar. But it's also really, really helpful. Next slide, Mike. Let's talk about certification. So hopefully you know this, but the Red Cross has a disaster manager certification system that creates a credential that recognizes your capabilities as a Red Cross worker and Red Cross disaster management. So the process itself helps guide your professional development and strengthens our pool of leaders within the Red Cross. So by going through this process, again, it's one more way to really accomplish and get better at some of the things that you have to do as a leader in the Red Cross disaster workforce, and to get to a higher level of competency. And again, that's one of those things that you might want to think about as a personal development goal, for example, about maybe accomplishing that over the course of a year. It's not something to be done on a weekend. You can't do it on a weekend. But you want to take your time to get it done, and certainly you can accomplish it. There are 2 levels of certification. There's a disaster manager certification and also an associate certification. There's some benefits to go with that. It helps you identify the competencies necessary for management of a successful disaster program, so that, which we talked about at the beginning of this. It provides you with additional guidance and training and experience. It's really helpful for us as an organization as we look at succession planning. So that is, how do we identify the next set of leaders that will be the RDOs, that will be the vice presidents, the senior directors of the organization down the road. And so getting that certification really helps make you stand out as one of those future leaders. And it's also a great way to get positive recognition for your work. So there is work involved. There's a set of things you have to do, but you'll get recognized when you accomplish it and get it done. And it's a great way to build that recognition. So next slide. So again, you'll find information about this on the exchange, but typically candidates for the certification are employees and volunteers who have achieved some level of professional excellence in the areas of capacity development, preparedness, response, and recovery activities in their communities. You'd obviously start out with the associate one. If you're fairly new, look at the associate one first, and then see if, after a year or two, you might meet the criteria for the full certification. One of the other things I would recommend is that you think about beyond the disaster management certification system, but think about roles and opportunities that are going to occur on disaster relief operations. And one of those you're going to see with the release of ConOps 2.0, you're going to see a much greater emphasis on the role of the district director. I think quite often there's this feeling that if you're going to be in a disaster relief operation, you need to be working, at the headquarters or somewhere else. But really moving forward with the new ConOps 2.0, it's really going to be about the district director, a lot more emphasis on the district director. So in terms of another place where you can build your competencies and skills, it's going to be in that district director role. So just know that as you go through that. So I'm going to pass the presentation over now to Danny Hollingsworth, who's going to discuss the professional development portal. What I'd ask you to do is to think about how the tools and resources that Danny is presenting will support your goal setting and the planning that we've discussed. So, Danny?
Talking with you about this afternoon. So again, my name is Danny Hollingsworth, and I am with the TOD Talent Organization and Development Team, and I want to talk with you about the Professional Development Portal, otherwise known as PDP. Next slide, please. While I'm with you today, I want to just give you an overview on what the PDP is, features of the PDP, how you can actually access it from your mobile device, when you can use it, and who can use it, and give you a real quick, brief demo, and then make sure that I show you where the EDGE resources are and where they're located on the exchange. Next slide, please. You might be wondering, what is the PDP? Well, first of all, the Professional Development Portal is part of EDGE, which is under the Red Cross at Work umbrella. Therefore, you can only access the PDP from EDGE, just like if you were to access the IFRC or the Disaster Ready platforms. We have tiles on the home page of EDGE that you can use to access those platforms. If you aren't familiar with the IFRC, I'll simply share with you that it's an international federation of Red Cross and the Red Crescent societies, and it's a free platform, and that you can take. Well, they have training there that you can take that's free too. It provides a lot of training on humanitarian services and various activities. I imagine that you're familiar with the disasterready.org platform, and I believe that y'all even have a few course recommendations that you can access from the DCS training page on the exchange. Next slide, please. But what is the PDP? Well, you may have heard of the Learning Hub, and the PDP is what the Learning Hub evolved into. If you ever accessed the Learning Hub or took training in the Learning Hub, your transcript data and all that training that you took will still be there. But since the Learning Hub moved under the Red Cross at Work umbrella and became the Professional Development Portal, we were able to expand our library. So we now have about 750 e-learning courses. We have about 3,500 videos and 12,000 plus books, including audiobooks. And we even have the content to fully support your certifications if you want it. We have 10 certifications, such as that we could support the SHRM, which is an HR certification, Six Sigma, project management, and others. We don't actually, you can't take the testware from the PDP, but you can take the courseware to get you ready for those certifications. And we've had people respond back to us that it saved them loads of money. People have wanted to buy books or whatever that they would otherwise go to Amazon or download copies, and we have a lot of that content right there in the PDP that they can download either audio files or e-books. And a lot of the content is even stuff they can download and access on their smart device. So I encourage you, before you make that next purchase on a book or something that's maybe a business-related topic, check the PDP, because that's certainly a way that we might be able to save you personally some money, and also if you were to charge it to the Red Cross, we might already have that for you. But since we did move under the Red Cross at Work umbrella, we also have a new and improved, more user-friendly platform. We can now support the app, so you can download an app, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Managers can now assign their staff professional development courses, whereas they couldn't before when we were at just the Learning Hub. However, unfortunately, at this time, the professional development portal is still only available to paid staff, but we are constantly working. We keep trying to work with the powers that be, management on the Red Cross, and our vendor, and come up with an arrangement so that one day we can hopefully open that platform up to our volunteers. It's definitely something that we're working towards, but as of right now, it's only available to our paid staff. Next slide, please. So the PDP is very easy to use. You can personalize it. You can develop your own learning plan, so that way you don't have to, once you find something, you don't have to look for it again. You can just add it to your own learning plan. You can access it 24/7. If you wake up with insomnia one night and you're just wide awake, but you don't really feel like getting out of bed, you can, through the app on your phone, you could take a 10-minute course or watch a 5-minute talk on an subject area that you're interested in. It's flexible. It's self-paced, and it's very relevant. The content is constantly being updated. Next slide, please. From the exchange, you can get to various different job aids, and I'm going to show you a few of those in a moment. But this is where you would go. You would go right on the top. It says Staff Services, Business Administration, Our Services, Our Response, Outreach, Training. You would click Training, and right under Training would be Edge, and you could click that. And from here, you could hit job aids, administrative roles, what have you. But from the job aids, I'm going to show you that in a minute. There are several that are particularly important for helping you through the professional development portal. But then you could also click the last link under Topic Hub's professional development, and that's where I publish different things that are specifically related to professional development. Okay, next slide, please. This is just a flyer I wanted to show you that you can access from the Exchange page. And if you access it from the Exchange page, you can actually click the little red here on the bottom, and that will help launch you into your app store, whether you have an Android device or an Apple device, and it will help you download the app. And it really makes it handy whether you're commuting or on a train or in a plane, wherever you are, standing in line in maybe a waiting room in a doctor's office. It's really a great feature that you can access this content right there from your phone. So you can do this during work time, of course, with your manager or supervisor's consent, but if you've worked this into your professional goals, y'all were speaking earlier about setting SMART goals, we have the content to support you achieving those goals. Whether you want to, maybe you have aspirations for a vertical move or a horizontal move. James was referencing how large our organization is. I've been with the organization myself about 18 years. I started off in biomedical, and now I'm on the, NHQ, more overbroad of everything. And the professional development and the content in there is something that you can definitely use to help you move around if you have eyes on a different position, again, vertical or horizontal. And you can do that right there from your phone. Next slide, please. So who can use the PDP and when? Again, it's an optional benefit available for all Red Cross paid staff. Managers can even assign professional development items to their staff. And Mike, if you could let me share my screen. Let's see, maybe I already have right, so I'm going to see if I can hit share my screen. So if you wanted to assign professional development to your staff, we have a job aid out there on the exchange, right where I had highlighted that you could go to find, and it would walk you through very clear visual aids on how you would go about that. Another one of the job aids that I often reference is creating a learning plan. Maybe you have a small team or you're a part of a small team, and you think that your team would like to, as a team, would like to develop maybe your communication skills or perhaps your project management skills. You can reach out to me, and there's a form on the exchange that you can access, and it's got a link, and you just click this, and we'll ask you a few questions, and then I'll reach out, and we would set up a meeting, and we'll build a learning program specifically for your team. We'll discuss how long you'd want that learning program. Maybe you want it to be 4 hours in length, broken up over 3 months, or maybe you want something more aggressive or smaller. Whatever your needs are, whatever your goals are, we can certainly work together and we can customize it and assign it straight to your team's learning transcripts so they don't have to look for the content or anything. So I wanted to make you aware of that. And then, of course, some people, if you're just looking for how to access the professional development content, which I'm going to show y'all, but just in case you have colleagues or friends that are confused, you can share this job aid that's on the exchange with them too, because many people, they forget that you have to go in Edge and launch it right there because it is a part of the whole Red Cross at Work system. Okay, I'd like to go back to the presentation. Excellent. Okay, and next slide, please. So I spoke with y'all about learning programs and how I could help you develop one customized for your team. One thing I wanted to say about that is one thing that I would be working with you on is to try and determine what competencies you wanted to develop. I know James spoke to competencies a little bit in his presentation, but just for clarification, a competency basically is a cluster of related abilities, commitments, knowledge, and skills that a person performs to effectively do their job in a particular situation. The Red Cross utilizes the Korn Ferry, formerly Lominger. Lominger bought Korn Ferry, so beyond making it easier to pronounce the company's name, they also sort of melded their competencies into a nice even 38 competencies, but they didn't change them. They just sort of grouped them to make it easier to manage for people to identify what competency areas they wanted to work on. Their competencies listed here, some of the ones such as communicates effectively, drives results. And then the Red Cross worked and divided those down even further, and based on what competencies have proven to be essential for success at each level within the American Red Cross, they've just subdivided them here. So you can see an individual contributor is going to have different competencies for an executive, or a supervisor's competencies might be different than a director's competencies. That's not to say that the individual contributor doesn't have some of the same competencies as an executive director, but it's just saying if you were to build a learning program, for example, if you had your eyes on the prize to be a manager one day, you might want to work towards developing your drives results competency. And I could curate content for you to be able to do that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I am going to share with you a brief demo. So I believe I can share my screen again. Okay, let's see, go back. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go straight to Edge. I need to move this, sorry. Boom. So from here is the landing page of Edge. And again, the different tiles that I referenced earlier. I'm not going to give you a brief overview of Edge in general, but these tiles are very helpful. But for our purposes here, I'm just going to click on the professional development tile. And it's going to launch straight to this home page. From here, you can access content in a variety of different ways. You can, if you've saved something to your learning plan, which I'll show you in just a minute, you can click your learning plan, and this would pull up all the different content that you have saved to your learning program. If you just wanted to peruse the library, you can do so in this way. You can look by programs by line of business, core competencies by line of business. Again, I referenced that we had the content to support multiple certifications, professional certifications. If you were interested in a particular certification, you could click, say, project management, and it would launch into the various different courseware and resources and books, what have you, that we have that would help you prepare for that certification. And when you're anywhere in the professional development portal and you want to get back to the main page, you just click the American Red Cross symbol, and it takes you back to the main page. Something else in the library, I believe y'all will be learning about it or hearing more about it in your next meeting, the People Manager Development Program. Well, this is a library that we have developed in the Professional Development Portal, so you can just access that content here. Now, whether you are pre-supervisory, an individual contributor, or an executive director, if you're Gail McGovern herself, you can actually take any of this content. This is not locked down to prevent other people from taking it. Because it's a professional development portal, we want to encourage you to, grow and set goals and have high aspirations. So you can take the content for any of this. When you learn more about the People Manager Development Program, you'll learn that you do need to complete whatever track that you are assigned, but it doesn't mean that you can't complete content that you haven't been assigned. You can certainly do that. Okay, I also wanted to show you the universal search function. James mentioned in his presentation emotional intelligence. If that was something that you were interested in developing, you could type that in and you could discover all the different content that we have available. This is courses, and you can see there's multiple items. But one thing I want to make you aware of is we also have books, and so you need to click the tab to hit books, and it will show you various books. It shows you how many pages. I was trying to see if this would be a good example. These aren't particularly great examples, but sometimes it'll also say it's an audio file or what have you, and you can download that to your laptop or your smart device. We have videos. If you're interested in whether you'd watch something, you can watch various videos, and they tell you their times, so 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Lots of research has suggested that people in this really busy world today, they lose your attention after 8 minutes. So I'm hoping I still have yours, but if you were to develop professionally, you can hit great pieces of knowledge and really grow yourself in just a short amount of time. And even for the longer courses, that might be 30 minutes or an hour, they're broken out in modules, so you can maybe hit a 10-minute module, take a break, come back another day, relaunch it, and it will launch right where you left off. We also have resources, so if you wanted to maybe take a test or there's a job aid you want to print and keep by your laptop, or team emotional intelligence if you're struggling with, as a team, or maybe you personally want to work with your active listening, what have you, we have a lot of content available to support you. I also want to show you from the home page. It highlights things you recently viewed. So if you looked at something, maybe you were doing a search, but you weren't so sure you want to necessarily save it to your learning plan, it will be here so you can find it again for you. It also is sort of like a smart search. It'll list things that it thinks you're interested in based on other content you've researched. And then on the bottom, we have featured content that I try and change out about every 6 weeks or so. And I generally try and highlight a course, a video, or a book. And you'll find those real easy to launch. But if you did want to, I can't get this to go up. If you did want to say you wanted to add something to your learning plan, I launched that. Apologize. I don't want to launch it. I just want to look at it. So I'm going to hit View Details. It will tell me all about it, and you can see this is a longer course. It's 25 minutes, but it's broken down into 5 minutes, 4 minutes, short little sections. But if I wanted to look at this later, I could click the Save, and it would save it to my learning plan. It also gives you an opportunity to evaluate it, and that feedback is kept in mind, and the courseware and content's always constantly being updated. I also want to show you the transcript, something different about professional development content, unlike the content maybe that's required or what have you. This is like, for example, compliance training. Not all of the content in the professional development portal contains a test, such as videos, things of that nature. Books, you're not going to have a test after them, but you've accessed them. So it will show that you've accessed this content, but since it doesn't actually take a test, you won't get a completed score. It'll just show that you've accessed it. But for things that you have taken a test for, believe it or not, I have taken, okay. So things that you have taken, it'll show your completion date. And anything you take from the professional development portal, that information will transfer over to your EDGE transcript within 24 hours. It's a feed that's set up, so if you don't see it right away, don't feel frustrated. It will go back. But just in case you do feel frustrated, you can always write to us at talentsystems@redcross.org, and we will respond. And if you're ever having technical difficulties, you can certainly use the support features here. I myself, I manage this site, and I have used this live help and the chat features with the support department on many times, and they're very, very timely and very helpful. So I encourage you to do that. And once you're ready and you're ready to go back to EDGE, you don't have to fumble around and figure out how to do that. You can just click the EDGE on the home page, and it takes you back to EDGE. And here you are. And that is a professional development portal in a nutshell. So I hope that you are able to use this feature and this resource that's available to you. It's really just a wealth of information and resources, and I think it will help you as y'all are working on your goals and developing your goals and reaching for future positions and thinking. So that's it for me, and I'll pass it back to Mike. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you, Danny and James. So we have about 8 minutes remaining now for some questions. We do have a couple on the chat window that I'll start addressing in just a moment. In the meantime, if anybody has any other questions, please type them into the chat window now, and we'll try to get to them. And like I said, if you have a question that can't easily be typed into the chat window, we will try to open up the phone lines momentarily before the end to see if anybody has any phone questions. So we're going to start with a question that was regarding James's discussion of the personal assessments. He talked about the StrengthsFinder and another one, and can we share those personal assessments with the participants? The short answer is yes. We'll include that when we post the recorded version of the webinar. We'll also post the slide deck, and we'll make sure that those personal assessments are included in that slide deck. Okay, next question is from someone who said they were told in mid-2016 that the mentoring program was no longer in place. Is that still true? If not, how do I get involved? So the mentoring program is different and is delivered by each division. So what we have at NHQ level is a collection of resources to help or assist a division with managing or administering their own mentorship program. But each division has the flexibility to administer their own in their own method that they choose to. Some divisions are further along than others with that, and so if you're interested in the mentorship program, contact your chain of command, and your division either has a program that you can get plugged into, or if they don't right now, then let them know that you're interested. If enough people are interested in your division, then that may become a priority. Regardless, all of the tools and resources for a mentorship program are still posted on the Exchange toolkit. Okay, next question. Is there a template or sample resume that is required for the Disaster Program Manager certification? Yes, there is. There's a whole host of resources, including fact sheets about the certification and the associate level certification that talks about the requirements, the resume that you'll need to complete, and letters of recommendation and so forth. Those are all on the Region and Chapter Program Leadership Toolkit on the Exchange, which is where we post this WebEx, as well as a lot of the other DPM resources. Okay. Next question. All right, so the question about Skillsoft or the professional development portal. What is the Red Cross's login URL? Jenny, can you address this question, please?
I can. If you go to the Exchange, and I can share my screen again if I need to, but on the job aid on how to download the Skillsoft app, it will tell you. Let's see. I can pull it up. I may even have it already pulled up.
Danny, I'm gonna give you control briefly here.
Okay. I need to share, so let me go back over here. I'm an only child, so I don't always share right away. Okay, share my screen. Excellent. Go back up here. So from the job aids, there is, can you see my screen? Let me check first.
We can, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to click the Download Skillsoft Learning app, and I'm clicking that. And if you can see, it says, it'll tell you right here, you type in American Red Cross, and then it's .skillport.com. So I hope that answers your question. And I will say, if you're doing this, one thing I found, just as a tip and trick, I don't know, maybe I'm not the most technically savvy, but I personally found if I open this job aid on my smart device and then click this link, it all happened seamlessly for me. But so that's one thing you can try too. If you want to forward yourself this link to this job aid, you can do that as well. But once you sign in that first time to download the app, you'll see step 4 here. You have to log in as if you're getting into the Exchange. You won't have to do that again. That's a one-time thing, and it will ask you to customize your interests on basically whether you're interested in customer service or project management. I think you get maybe 4 primary areas, and it just helps to limit the content that you can see, but you can change that at any time. So I hope I'll give up control again. Stop sharing.
Okay, thank you, Danny. So one more note. Some of you may have noticed that we skipped over a couple of slides right at the end of James Tittle's presentation. We were a little bit tight on time, and we wanted to make sure that we got everything covered from Danny's section also. And those couple of slides that we did skip from James's section, we will cover them in next month's WebEx in August. So you'll still get that. A couple of the slides were on competencies, and then a couple were on PMDP, or the People Manager Development Program, and we'll actually have a whole segment with a guest speaker on the PMDP in August. So I don't have any more questions in the chat window. We have about 1 minute left. So I'm going to open up the line very quickly to see if there are any questions on the line. Hopefully we can get to 1 or 2, and then we'll part ways. So I am now unmuting. ask if there are any questions on the line.
No, I'm gonna barbecue then.
If you're talking about barbecue, we can hear you.
Any questions on the phone line? Okay, I'm hearing none, and I see that we are at the end of the hour. So I want to give a huge thanks to our co-facilitators today, James Tittle and Danny Hollingsworth. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise with this content. I also want to thank everyone on the line, our participants, for taking your time to join us today. I hope you are continuing to get value out of these, and you will join us for our next month. Stay tuned. Shortly, we'll be doing some sort of survey or asking for your feedback on the series so far as we decide what we want to do after this initial series of 6 webinars is complete. We'll figure out what we want to do, either repeat these topics or have some new topics, or simply rely on the recorded version. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, again, hope to see everyone on August's webinar, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you very much. Take care.